Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here on time. Um, Especially thank you for our incredible panelists. I have already shared their detailed bios with you, so I will keep the introductions short. We have Clementine, who is also the founder of this program and will be hosting tonight's discussion. And we also have Jennifer from Microsoft. Just a quick note that Jennifer will need to leave at around 7:15. So if you have questions, especially for her, please feel free to ask those earlier in the session. We also have Cash from Quant Industry, Daniel from Google, Krishna from CVS, and Hao Chen from Amazon. Thank you all for being here and for generously sharing your time and experience with us tonight. And before we get started, just a quick note for our mentees. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand during the discussions, or you can drop your questions in the chat and I will make sure we get to them. With that, I will turn it over to Kevin Tans.
Thanks for the intro, Ranfei. Welcome all to this panel. I will invite everyone to please turn on their camera unless they really don't want to be recorded, mostly so that it feels like our panelists are not just talking to a screen, a wall of black screen. So please, guys, turn on your cameras. We'd love to see you and to interact with you. I'll just wait a minute for everyone to put on their cameras. Come on, guys, don't be shy. I still see some black screens. I wanna see all of you today. All right, we'll work with what we're having right now. Okay, so what is the goal of this panel? You guys have the exceptional opportunity via the mentoring circle to interact with your mentor, to get one-on-one support. But through this program, we also want you to get the opportunity to interact with not just your mentors, but with mentors from other circles. Every mentor has something that you could all benefit from learning from. And so Ranfei here kindly put together a panel that's diverse so that we hear their perspective on their day-to-day, the work that they do, their latest thoughts on what's happening in the field of ML and data science. And so we really encourage you all guys to make the most of this opportunity to engage with the panelists. Before we get started, I'd love for each panelist to give us a quick introduction about themselves. Let me welcome Cash here. Cash actually joined our very, very first edition of the mentoring program. He's one of the person thanks to whom this program exists. We needed a mentor to get this program kick off, and I think he took a break for a couple of years, and so I'm really happy to see him back here with us in this program. Cash, welcome back. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm the founder of Quant Coaching. We're a boutique consulting and professional development firm in New York City, where we help our clients analyze quantitative problems, prepare for quantitative careers in AI, data science, machine learning, and finance. Personally, I've been tutoring and coaching for about 20 years, from when I got my PhD at Duke, and my postdoc at statistics at BU. And I spent 10 years in the financial services industry. And yeah, like I said, I've just been helping people, placing people locally and help kind of sharpen up or upskill or reskill with the age of AI. So it's good to be back.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to this panel, Cash. It's good to have you, as I've mentioned. Next on the slide, I'm seeing Daniel. Daniel, are you on the call with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Daniel. It's good to see you. Daniel, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Daniel Michibarek. I'm currently with Google. I'm in the AI data program, which is a unit of Google Cloud. Been at Google about 5 years, and a couple of years before that, I was at Uber. And overall, I've been data science too long, maybe 30 years. And I spent actually probably majority of my time as an independent consultant. I had a small firm, and we did a lot of hands-on work in data science and tax space. And before then, I moved into large, big tech. And today, as I studied at I studied BU. A program was called Cognitive and Neural Systems, where sort of an earlier wave of AI when neural networks first became popular. And yeah, so today my team works in the AI data space, which means collecting data that to make frontier models smarter and more competent about very specialized skills. And yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing this. We look forward to hearing a little bit more about your day-to-day through this panel, but very happy to see you here on the call. Next, we have Hao Chen. Hao Chen, how are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Would it be possible to put your camera on? I cannot see you at this
Oh,
time.
sorry about that. So I'm currently doing a digital avatar engagement with the customer. So I need to use my virtual camera to present after this meeting. So I don't want to mess up with the setting right now. So that's why like you cannot see the real camera. So it's like I kind of like it's connected with my virtual camera right now. But
So as you guys see, we're a lot of us are working on in tech, but we still get tripped up by basic tools like camera. We've all been there.
yeah.
Hao Chen, why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm currently a senior data scientist at Amazon Web Service. My job is more like a consultant. We work with external customers from different industry sectors and help them build Gen AI solutions. And my job is more focused on building agents for different use case. And then before I started my career in Gen AI, I was a data scientist. Most of my time was building machine learning models, and also doing some business analytics.
Thanks for sharing this, Hao Chen. Did you just transition job? I think I vaguely recall you being at Meta. Is that right? Or am I mixing up my mentors here?
Probably not me. I was in
No.
another company last year, but I joined Amazon last year on December.
Well, congratulations. I hope it's going well. And last but not least, on the call, we have Krishna with us. Krishna, do you want to give us a little wave?
Sure. Hey guys, this is Krishna. I've been with CVS for close to 10 years by now. I've been supporting retail merchandising on the data science areas. Currently, I'm leading forecasting center of excellence for pricing, promotions, and assortment. I've been in analytics and data science for more than 16 years. I started in very traditional roles like something like basic regression models and then reporting Excel, SQL. I've seen numerous amount of transformations in terms of like big data, cloud, machine learning, deep learning, now Gen AI. So I think look forward to hearing more perspective about from the other mentors as well. But yeah, here I am. Thanks.
Thank you, Krishna, for this introduction. Ranfei, is Jennifer back online with us, or should we get started?
Yeah,
Hi, I'm back. Hi, guys. Hello, Clementine. It's very nice to see you again.
Hi.
And everyone. Yes, hi. I was having a mound of issues with my Zoom, but yeah, now I'm here. Hi, guys. My name is Jen. I am a cloud solution architect, CSA at Microsoft. And what we do is actually very similar to Hao Chen, but I just implement on the Azure side where we act as consultants to our clients. I specifically sit under the RCG org, which is Retail Consumer Goods. And we implement Gen AI and LLM processes within our clients' workloads, essentially. And previously, I was a data scientist at Accenture for 2 years and Optum at 5 years. So I have experience on the consulting side as well as the industry side. So happy to answer any questions there too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Glad to see you online with us. All right. So we're gonna start diving into questions. I highly encourage our mentees on the call to jump in for follow-up questions on particular topic if they wish to do so. The more interactive this panel, the better it is. We don't want to just talk at you. We'd love to talk with you guys. So feel free to raise your hand. Ranfe will keep track and ask a question if it's pertinent to the topic at hand. And I'll just be here to try to, keep the conversation alive and well. But so I think what I'd like to do with you guys at this point is split the conversation in two bits. The first bit is that I want to hear about your day to day. What is your job like? And then I'd love to pivot the conversation a little bit toward the latest developments in the machine learning slash data science field, where the advance of AI assistants have revolutionized the field. And I'd love to dive in on that topic with you guys a little bit. But before we get into that part, I think I'd love to get to you guys a little bit more and what is your job like. So what I'm going to do here at this point is that I'm going to try to invite a couple people to tell us about what is their day-to-day like. And what I'll do specifically is that I'm going to take someone that's currently in leadership and someone that's currently more at the IC level, so that we hear about both spectrum of what our field can look like. We're in the same field, but how our roles can vary over time. So I think what I'd love to do is perhaps ask, I think we have on the line Hao Chen, who is still pretty junior in his career, senior data scientist at Amazon. I don't think he has managing leadership responsibilities at this point. So I'd love to hear about Hao Chen's perspective as an I see what does his job look like. And then I'd love to hear about Krishna, who is director of data science at CVS. What does his day-to-day look like today? So I'd love to hear about both people. Maybe we can start with Hao Chen. Hao Chen, why don't you tell us what is being a data scientist at Amazon like? What is you go into the office in the morning, and then what happens to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So since my job is customer facing, so I have a meeting at 8 a.m. every morning with the customer, at least in the next 2 months. So like for today, I go to the office, then I just sit down with the customer, having a meeting with the customer in the morning. Basically, we're gonna going through all the progress we have made in the last couple of days, and also talk about some block and something that what we can do for the customer and what the customer can help us solve the problem. Because the solution we build will need some input from the customer. Like we are building an agent that we need to integrate into their systems. So we can tell them how the agent works, what is the infrastructure looks like, and but they need to provide us the information on how to integrate this agent to their systems. So usually they have some internal API that we can utilize and we convert them to some type of tools that agent can be used. So it's kind of like we need to learn from them how their internal system work, what is the most safe and the correct way to interact with their systems. And then I explain to them how we can convert this information to something that we can integrate with agents. And after that, it's going to be my personal development times. So I can either spend the rest of the days learning new stuff. Most of the stuff is some new techniques that I need to use in my work or something that we could be used in the future. Or I'm just continue working on the customer engagement, continue building stuff and testing out. And also during a typical week, we'll have multiple knowledge sharing sessions. So, for example, like tomorrow, we're gonna giving a presentation to an internal larger group. So this is an opportunity where we share our like research and also share the customer engagement that we have built. So for example, I can share like what I have done for the customer, like the different agent and pattern that we have created, and also I can use that opportunity to learn what type of other solution that what type of solution that other people build for different use case and get some like
Uh,
inspiration for my
Hao
future
Chen,
work.
I'd love to ask you just so that we understand a bit more your day to day. Like when you talk about building agents, what kind of agents are you building for your clients? Can you give us one example so that our mentees here get a sense for what is it you're providing?
Yeah, so actually the type of agent is very broad. For example, like I have working with the multiple pharmaceutical company before. So I have them build a like drug discovery agent. So basically, this agent is gonna collaborate with their scientists, help them formulate a hypothesis, and also utilize some like programming tool to automatically calculate some molecules properties and use that to automatically select potential molecules for their like next phase experiments. So that's one thing. The current engagement I'm currently working is also for another pharmaceutical company, but it's more on their IT side. So this is like a service agent. So in the past, if their employee need to, for example, they want to create some cloud resource, they need to reach out to their service teams and submit the ticket and provide all the details, and the service team can create that cloud resource for them. But right now, we want use agent to handle it automatically. So the agent will for example, like a chatbot. So the user can talk with this agent. The agent can understand what the user need, and also the agent has access to their internal knowledge base. So the agent know like what is the service pattern company policy looks like. So if the user, let's say if user want to create some storage unit that has public access, which is violate the company policy, and the agent can reject that. Or if the user want to create something that is eligible or feasible, and the agent has a tool to do that, then the agent is going to automatically create a resource for the user instead of create a ticket to the service teams. So we want to use this agent to replace some effort for the service teams and also like reducing the lead time the service team to handle the ticket because sometimes when employees submit a ticket, they will not be able to provide all the details there, but the agent can guide with the user, help them to populate all the important information in the ticket. So the service team does not have to like go back to the user and ask them for clarifications.
Thank you for sharing all of this. It's very interesting. And also, I would say a somewhat unusual role in data science as your client facing. I don't meet a lot of client facing data scientists. I'm sure in on itself, it requires a lot of very specific skills that I'd love for you to touch on. I'd love to double click on all of this, but I will at this point I'll start asking questions to Krishna. I want to make sure we circle the room here a little bit. Krishna, why don't you tell us? So we've heard about Hao Chen here, who is client facing, helping them understand their needs and bring forward their projects. What about you, Krishna? What does it mean to be a director of data science, generally speaking? And if there's something very specific about being director of data science at CVS that you think is different from another company, I'd love to hear about it.
Sure. I can share my thoughts as well. So generally, my day looks very different from where I started. So when I started at least. So earlier in my career, most of my time was heads down, writing codes, building models, or exploiting analysis, everything. Now, as a director of data science, most of my day is about alignment and decisions. A typical day is usually a mix of three different things. First, I work with my team. So I ensure that we'll be having stand-ups every day. We review the progress, we remove blockers, we help them think through the problems. Second is working with the business partners, our product partners. So we really wanted to understand what they really need. We want to make sure we are solving the right problem. The third thing is where I spend most of my time. It's about like thinking about longer term direction. Like what should I be building next quarter? What should we stop doing it, and where are we wasting time? So it's pretty much a combination of three different things. A lot of my time goes into the meetings generally. So not just for the status actually, but meetings to make decisions at least. And then AI also has changed part of my work. Earlier, I used to spend writing project requirement documents or sharing minutes or collecting the information from these meetings. With I think we get all these things very quickly at least. So I spend most of the time reviewing and improving instead of starting from scratch at least. So one thing I learned over time is pretty much like as you grow, your impact comes less from what you built yourself and more from what you enable others to build at least. So my job today is like making sure the team is focused, not overloaded, and working on the right problems at least. I think that's my basically day to day.
Thank you for sharing all of this. I want to give a pause here to see if students have questions for our couple mentors and what they've talked about right now. Just anyone wants to dive into a specific topic with one of our mentors here? If not, I have plenty to go around, so it's no worry. But I want to give an opportunity to our students. Renfe, is there any question in the room so far?
No, not really.
Okay, cool. Then okay. What I'd love to do here then is continue on this path of hearing about people's role and day-to-day. And we've had Hao Chen tell us about his role as a data scientist working with customers at Amazon. We've had Krishna telling us about how his day-to-day has changed, transitioning into leadership. I'd love to have our next leader here, who is Daniel, telling us whose career spans multiple years. What does he think made him successful in transitioning from first what we call an individual contributor and then move into leadership? What are the skills that have that you think made you successful at this transition into the leadership roles? And what are some things you wished you had known when you first became a leader rather than a contributor?
Yes, thank you. So what makes it successful? Well, I think, of course, having been in that role, and I think it would be very hard for anyone to step into a management leadership role without having spent enough time in the hands-on work, right? And sometimes, for career progression, I find that some more junior or people entering the path of data science, they're kind of eager to get to a leadership role, and maybe accelerating a bit the time spent into the doing, right? And so my guidance is always that you really have to be, in order for you to be respected by your team and have trust in your knowledge, because that's what they do every day, will be hands-on things. You cannot be, distant or separated from that. So you have to have that experience, right? So I always suggest to spend enough time, into the IC role, maybe elevating to the next level of technical leadership, overseeing multiple projects, and then when it comes to people management, that's a whole different deal, right? So it's where maybe your skills as a data scientist, they not necessarily help you more specifically if you're dealing with with personalities, with humans, with characters, with ambitions, with all different things, right? And being a good, you need to inspire people. You need to give people their own freedom and for their creativity and encourage them. So it becomes it's a new set of skills you acquire, right? And you can only acquire it by doing, by also being humble and say, well, I don't know how. I could be a great data scientist, but that doesn't make me automatically a good manager, and therefore, you really want to take it as a new skill. And sometimes you're gonna have to deal with things which are not are challenging. Like, for example, somebody who has a performance problem, right? They're handling those difficult situations and having difficult conversation. That's something that takes time to experience. So I think it's important to have that, to keep that strong technical capabilities, to be able to again get that team respect, and then to be able to provide valuable input to your team, and then have patience to learn about, to look at the human aspect of leadership and management.
Thank you, Danielle, for sharing this insight. I think it's very interesting in what you're sharing, that being a good scientist doesn't necessarily make you a good leader. That there's a learning curve, and that this role comes with its own set of challenges. I'd love to hear from our other leaders, mentors in the room right now. Is there anything you want to add to what Danielle just shared on the topic of the transition from an IC to a leader, the challenges you might have faced when that happened, and what are some of the advice you would give to someone that would make this transition at this point? And also, how do you decide to make the transition? Because not everyone decides to go into the leadership role, right? So I'd love to hear from our other leader mentors here if they have any additional thoughts.
I might actually jump in on that, because in a coaching capacity, I have a lot of clients that are senior managers. And a lot of my time is actually kind of doing exactly what Danielle was saying. I tend to wrap that into the blanket of what's called emotional intelligence, which roughly breaks up into 5 components, which is like self-awareness, regulation, empathy, motivation, and social skills.
Wait, can
And
you repeat that slowly?
So fast.
Self-awareness.
So what am I feeling? Like, maybe I'm scared
Yeah.
or angry. Uh, Regulation. So like it's a disruptive tendency. Maybe I want to go yell at my manager or yell at my subordinate, but that's not a good idea. Um, Motivation. It's like what motivates me? Like, is it just jumping? Like I had a client that has 6 jobs in 2 years. So like what exactly is motivating him? What is he looking for? Is it position? Is it title? Is it work-life balance? Motivation. Empathy is a big one because Danielle mentioned, for example, someone who's having a performance problem, right? It's like what is actually going on, like connecting with them, not just saying like, "Hey, what's going on?" and expecting kind of it to work out. Like you really need empathy for like understanding your person, and also when you work with people. And the last part is social skills, because a lot of people who are very good IC, they're not very good socially. Like they really can write really good code. They can analyze data like really well, but they don't talk to people. They might have problems with communication, and those social skills are very important when you collaborate, like either kind of managing downward or managing upward or managing across. So I think Danielle is absolutely right. So I can echo that just across my clients, even though I'm not part of the company. Like I have a lot of clients that kind of are struggling with the same thing. So
Thank you for sharing. I'll try to remember this. So regulation, empathy,
Self-awareness, motivation.
like if you Google it, it's Dan Goleman. He's the guy that created it back in 2004. So if you just Google emotional intelligence, it'll come up, the 5 things. I did not create
uh,
this. Help manage it and sort of integrate it with kind of the corporate world.
what about our other leaders in the room here? Has anyone experienced any challenging in transitioning from IC to leader? Do you want to share any piece of insight on this transition, or anything on the topic of actually managing people and the role itself?
I actually have a bit of a different perspective, in that like right now I sit in a weird spot in the organization where I am an IC, but I also have an additional role where I'm kind of like a practice lead to a data science team because we bring them on as almost like consultants to the project when we don't have enough data scientists to like go around. And essentially, I act as their practice lead and giving them context and information. And it's a bit of a odd role because they're not reporting to you, but you do have to work with them, and you are responsible for their output and solution. So you do have to not only monitor and work with them very carefully, but also be very aware that they don't actually report to you. So it's a very balanced project assignment at this point, I guess. So I'm starting to learn that like at the end of the day, everybody wants to deliver well. And when you make deliverables, you are more than the deliverable. You're responsible for the relationship that your company has with the client. And at the end of the day, like even if the deliverable isn't what you want it to be, the relationship is even more important than the deliverable. But obviously, I also sit in the sales organization of the company, so that might be a bit different. But yeah, just
I
offering
think
a
you
different
touched,
perspective. Yeah,
I'm glad you're bringing it up because you're talking about a very different type of leadership, which is called leading with influencing without there's
authority.
a yes, influencing without authority, which is a whole challenge in itself. Is how do you get people to um, deliver without having any um, uh, authority over them in the hierarchical diagram. And so this is a whole topic, and I'd love to hear from you of, like some of the challenges you've faced, how you've, what are some of the failures you've had, because, we've all failed at this, and what have been some of your success in managing those, leading without influence? No, influence. Leading without influence, I think it's called. Like, how have you handled those challenges? Would love to hear some, you know, anecdotes about what has gone well and what has gone wrong for you.
Yeah. So I think overall, like when you're working on a team, most people, as long as they have an average amount of like empathy and social skills, like everyone's trying to work together pretty well. It's usually when it becomes like a decision where it's very 50-50 and can go either way, that becomes an issue. What is more important? Like when you have a data science problem, you can go with tree models and you can go with time series models. That's a very, very bad example. I'm sorry. But like, essentially, how do you design experiments and what experiments do you do first in terms of priority? Especially when you don't have authority over the group that you're talking with. It's more of your suggestions and they can take it or leave it. So it has gone well in that they are aware that, hey, I've had data science experience. I've been a data scientist for about 10 years. They respect that history, as Daniel was saying, actually. Like that's actually really important when you are talking to people that you don't actually have authority over. And also having very structured arguments of why and the advantages and the disadvantages kind of ready in your mind when you're presenting a argument or a viewpoint, essentially. I think that's also been very important. And also, what's also really been challenging for me is that my direct manager is not a technical person at all. He is like 100% sales. And he's a good manager in that he doesn't get in my way, but it's also hard to tell him bad news when it involves like technical expertise of why, like, hey, like a good data science model is like 80, 90%. Right now, we have 20%, but that's still better because they had 0% before. So, like, it's very perspective wise that's important. So yeah, I can go on and on about this for like days. But yeah, I think those are the main points that I would point out.
Thank you for sharing them. Um, I love to hear about everyone's perspective. As you see, we have a very diverse room with people who are working on very different topic and facing very different challenges. I just want to check, Ranfit, do we have any question in the room? Should we carry on, or I want to take a pause to see if any of our students wants to hear more about one of our mentors.
Yeah, not from the chat, but I have a question.
Go for it.
Yeah, so it can be long term and it also can be short term. Maybe for the long term one, it's more for the director levels. So in your opinion, when is the time to pause or even abandon a project? And maybe for the short term one, when is the time to pause or abandon a model or an agent solutions?
So, Ranfit, just trying to clarify the question here a bit. You're imagining you're working on a project and maybe, it hasn't yielded the fruits that you're looking for. And so you're wondering, like, should I stop? And how do you make that decision?
Right.
Is that the question? Is that the
Right.
question?
Yeah.
Is it
Short
coming from
answer to
personal experience?
Yeah, and some AI projects I have is about beat document preparations. We want to create an agent with the help of Copilot, but it turns out it's really hard because we have tons of regulations and we cannot take any risks of hallucinations. So then they suggest us to turn back to kind of traditional way using Power Automate to modularize the whole contract template, which is sometimes 30 pages, and then put in the fields like contract ID, the manager's name, email, the thing we want to buy, like a lot of description stuff. I
I
feel
think we
like
can keep it high level. The
okay, yeah,
question is essentially when to call it quits.
right, yeah.
When you've poured effort, maybe who in the room feels like they wants to tackle that one?
I can give a try if you want. I would say if you're going into a path that is not fruitful and you kind of stumble and you're not getting the results you want. So first of all, are there any making an inventory of other paths and how much you believe that could turn into a viable solution. Of course, how important is what the end goal is, right? And what is the demand for that solution? Would that solution really make a difference in the business for which is worth continuing to invest into something that that's the part of data science is like doesn't have a sure outcome, right? But if you had is that still valuable? Like if you would have that result, would it change the business? And then the other consideration is like, is there other more fruitful opportunity for your time and resources to dedicate, right? Is there another opportunity that where time could be best spent and utilize for it? So
Yeah.
Anyone else wants to tackle some of this
I can share some of my inputs as well. So generally on the long-term projects, I continue to check few things. First, are we solving a real business problem or not? Second, is there a clear ownership and support? Third, are we seeing learning and progress or not? So if any of these things are not clear, then I think it's time for us to pause it actually. So for example, if after a few months we are still debating about basic assumptions, we are still fixing data issues and still cannot show value, then I think it's time to pause and rethink at least. So it's not good for us to continue on that. Second, in terms of models or agent solutions, to me, I think again, we don't want to maintain for the sake of maintaining it. So we don't want to be like look fancy at all. It's so few questions I would ask myself is like, how stable are those models? How easy it is for us to maintain them, and how much we are seeing improving in our decisions. So if either of these things, if we are not able to check box these three things, then let us stick with the basic models itself, base models itself. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll chime in here actually because this has actually come up, especially with like layoffs and stuff like that. Because I think it's a combination of what Krishna and Danielle said. Because the first thing you need to agree on is what the metrics of success are, and more importantly, you need to get buy-in across the different teams. Because if you just define your definition of success, and the other teams, which could be upward for the CEO or the sister teams, don't agree on it, well, you're gonna have problems when you say like we might have to stop this, right? Because you didn't have enough diversification of the people who were making all the decisions. Condition on that, probabilistically, if you would, condition on having those metrics and everything in place, you're in Danielle's situation. And I've being on the other side of this, right? Like there is an ongoing cost of pursuing problems because you're paying for AWS costs, you're paying for people's like, day-to-day salaries in order to do this stuff, right? And given now you have a metric of success, you have a future payoff, right? So if you keep burning time and resources, at some point the cost is actually going to overwhelm whatever the revenue generating opportunity that you're actually targeting is. At that point, I mean, you can give yourself a little bit of margin, like, hey, let's maybe give it, 20% more, 30% more, 10% more. But at some point, if you start crossing, and by the way, those metrics also have to be agreed upon across groups. So if you're all just like, look, we're going to give it 20% more buffer or margin past whatever we thought we were going to get, then at that point, you can call it quits because everyone agrees on the success metrics. Everyone bought in on how much resources we're going to put into this. And as long as you're honest about what's been happening, it tends to go down well. But it is a process, right? Like you do need accountability, you do need agreements, you do need to manage the relationships across the company. But it's usually not a problem if you have all the support. So
Thank you.
If I can selfishly like plug in my own opinion on the topic, I I think your question is when do you want to call it quit? And I want to take even a step back, which is um if you when you craft your project timeline, the idea is that you should design your timeline such that um, if you decide to call it quit, it's not going to be too much of a loss. You don't want to be in a binary outcome where it's like, I'm going to plow forward with this for 18 months. And if it doesn't work, I get zero out of it. Instead, you can craft a roadmap such that you first establish a proof of concept which is time boxed, maybe 3 months, where you know you're going to get some form of deliverable which is not perfect, but will give you a signal as to whether it's worth continuing the investment. And the idea is that everyone's understanding is that if after that time, signal shows that there is a meat on that bone, then you can kill the project and you don't have a big loss. And so the idea is to move your project in phases such that you never find yourself at a point where you're like, oh, I got to call quit and I've wasted so much time. And so hopefully you build your project in milestone where you get signal regularly so that you can adjust directions. And if at some point you need to pivot because of the feedback you're getting from your results, you haven't poured 6 months of effort that's not valuable. So the idea is that you should never find yourself in a place where you're like, if I quit this project, I've wasted so much time. You should get your signal early on and get results frequently, essentially. That would be my advice, to not put yourself in this position. And have expectations clear with your partners that, some projects are innovative. You don't know if they're going to yield fruit. And everyone needs to be clear about this when, at the next milestone, we don't know if it's going to work out. We're going to do our best. It's possible it's not going to work out. But yeah, I think I would try to like mitigate my risks essentially by doing sound project management. Thank you for this question, Renfe. Is there any other question in the room?
No. Oh, sorry. Let me check. Okay. No.
Okay, I'm gonna pivot our conversation to the hot topic of the day. I'm so happy I got to hear a little bit about you guys, your job, your day to day. Now, what I'd love to hear is about your perspective about the revolution we're currently seeing today in our field, and not just our field. I think in every industry. ChatGPT got out, I believe, in 2020, and over the past 5 years, we've seen tremendous um, a progress on AI assistance for just about anything. So I'd love to hear from you guys, how has AI assistance changed your day to day, and what is different today than was 5 years ago for y'all?
Vibe coding.
Hmm?
Vibe coding.
Vibe coding. Tell us about it, Cash. How so you have your own company. How are you leveraging the AI assistants? Are you coding and you're just using AI assistants for coding? Are you using AI assistants for anything else?
Coding for sure. I would say like the tradition, like for example, like back in the day, if I had a text, right, or like a text message from a client or something like this, right? Like I couldn't put that into Python and have it parse the conversation and expect a reasonable output and how should I respond or all of that, any of that, right? But now I can just upload that to ChatGPT or Cloud or whatever Gemini, whatever my favorite AI tool is, and it can parse it and it can at least give me the text where I can do something with it. Or it might even give me a useful recommendation. I couldn't have done that 5 years ago. So taking those traditionally unstructured things and having it parse very quickly and getting results, even if it's 60 or 70% correct, well, I mean that's 60 or 70% less that I have to do. So, that's on like the data side of things, and then there's the vibe coding side of things, where like I can be working on a function and I'm like, yo, try that out, keep going, and then it might be like, hey, I need a log file. I'm like, oh yeah, true, and then just give it to them. So it's like 50% of an intern, 60% of an intern. So if I have like 5 clients, I can give each one of my little agents a little tidbit from each of those 5 clients, check back in 2 hours, and then like I said, it's usually got something like 20% of it done. So
I think I can also share. I agree with Kash, and I think from my perspective, um, early in my career or in the beginning of my leadership role, I used to spend more time on summarizing the meetings or documents. It used to take long hours actually, but now it's pretty much in a minutes actually. So I don't need to stay in the meeting, understanding what everyone is speaking, and then write down the minutes of meeting. So it'll be once you get the transcript will be summarized. It also helps you generate the email and it'll send to everyone actually. So that's a big shift. The second thing, I I think 5 years ago, if something was wrong, then it was often because of limited tools. But today, tools are very powerful. So leadership expects the output very faster. But if something is wrong today, then it's usually because humans are making
Meeting
bad decisions.
那个
Okay, I mute him.
Yeah, so the bar has moved actually. So you cannot say this will take 3 months for basic work. So you have to be sharper with priorities. So overall, I see AI as a strong accelerator. I still call it as a co-pilot because you are still the pilot. You are driving the steering. If you are not there, then AI will crash actually. So so it did not change what matters. Thinking, judgment, business understanding, those are still the core actually in my opinion.
It's interesting what you just said. You said that like you use AI as a co-pilot, like it's an assistant. It's there to support you, to help you, but it's not there to replace you. Um, and it can be wrong sometimes. It's just a very smart colleague.
But to me, I think yes, it makes good teams better. It does not fix bad thinking for sure.
Yes. Cash, I see you like not along. Do you want to share your thoughts?
no, I just had like a ton of examples in my head where a client came to me being like, I was on like Cloud or Gemini or a GitHub Copilot for 2 hours and something that I could have done in one. So to Krishna's comment, if you're on a bad team, it's not going to fix it because you know the expert still matters, right? The context still matters, and you need to know what you're doing because it can spit out code that'll work, but if you don't have try catches, if you don't have resilience, if you don't know how to multi-thread in an efficient way, it'll give you something, but it might not be efficient. And actually, if you ship that to production, you can have a lot of huge dangers. Especially in because some of my clients are in the financial sector, and so with the layoffs, they've actually gone more consulting. But you have to be really careful with financial data. Like if you start having memory leaks or Stack Overflows, you can bring down processes on the same box. So having that expertise is important. Like these coding places will give you something, but you need to be the expert to know what's right or wrong, what templates are like look right based on your experience, and you can't trust them blindly. So that's what I was nodding my head. I probably saved a good couple of people's careers and money just like reviewing code and being like, you shouldn't trust that. Just go back to basics or just like fix lines 23 through 37. Just write it yourself. So,
Yeah, the AI does what we're telling it. We just want to make sure that we're telling it to do the right thing. I'm gonna give an example or where I was using a coding assistant. I'm like, can you fix this error? And it just deleted the code because there's no more error. And so, well, can you fix the error but not delete the source code?
yeah, but
So,
then it'll put the code in, but it won't be the right code. It'll be different, and then you're just like fighting with it. So
so you gotta. It's a very helpful assistant, but it's compliance to a fault sometime. You gotta be careful of how you handle it. Um, Anyone else wants to chime in about how yes, Danielle, I see your hands raised.
Yes, I will. I think I'll be a little more blunt. Let's be careful at not underestimating the impact of AI. And yes, to say today it does this not perfectly as a co-pilot, is an aid, but let's think about what we'll do tomorrow or maybe next week. And maybe I'm talking from a perspective of seeing, some of the things we're working on, and say, for example, data science happens to be a focus area for agentic AI at Google right now. And so when I saw first Gemini surfacing on our collab, then I say, okay, coding, not that important, right? They start to be less important, good. I was never a fan of coding as being an art of data scientists, right? It was almost a necessity as, things like Python and R emerged and then became more of a coding job. And now it's no longer a coding job, right? Or as soon as not going to be a coding job. But I said, okay, but I'm a data scientist. I have to reason around data. I'm capable of, sort of figuring out the solution around this task. So it's not just about writing some code or write it or knowing the libraries and can help me with that. But I need to be, it still needs the human to figure it out. Then I saw, a project here at Google that was published where they built some early agentic environment, and they gave it like Kaggle competition, and the thing got gold level right away. Then I said, well, maybe that skill is not that invincible yet, right? And so I have to surrender to that skill. It doesn't matter how good I think a human can be at this task, the machine will catch up. And so then I see that the technical aspect is becoming less and less a critical differentiator. And then it's okay. What is a data scientist can do, right? The data scientist, and I think I have an answer, right? The data scientist is going to be, for one thing, in the room with the business people to understand what that can be done with data or interpret data science results. How is it done? If the machine will do it, fine. It's not about competing with the machine is going to get better and better. The other thing is for the data scientist to ask the next question, right? or what can be done with the data. What is the next question to ask? The machine is not going to ask the next question, probably ever, right? It's not going to have the context. It's not going to be able to talk to the other humans that need to understand what data scientists do. But I would say let's imagine just how, given the speed at which things are going, whether the mechanics of data science, of modeling, of how much it's going to take before we could say basically the machines can do a lot of the technical stuff really, really well. And I think this is not just for data science. This is for any profession to understand what is the differentiation, what is it going to make a professional unique as a human in that vertical. So that's I want to give that point
Thank
of
you
view.
for sharing. I'm glad you reminded us that it's a technology that evolves really fast, and that they're not perfect today, but they're getting better and better. And in fact, I vividly remember this panel 3 years ago. Someone asked, do you think that coding assistants will be able to, replace us as software engineers? And I remember I said at the time, no, like the code base are so specific, like it's impossible for, like they can help you code the function, but they cannot understand the code base. There's so much nitty-gritty. And today I'm working with coding assistants that can surface anything in the code base in just 3 years time. So the progress have been tremendous. And I guess definitely you've said that some technical skills are becoming less valuable. Coding, like the interview process for many companies, Google, AWS, Meta, used to be all like largely about coding. And you've just touched on it a little bit, Daniel, about what you think are some of the skills that are going to become a priority in the future, with technical aspects fading in the background. You've mentioned the ability to ask the right question, see the right people. I'd love to take this opportunity to ask everyone else here in the room, and you, Daniel, if you have more thoughts, what do you guys think are the skills that are gonna differentiate people in the future? What do you think are the skills that are going to be beneficial with I don't think I'm exaggerating. This is a revolution in real time we're living. How do you stay valuable in this transitional environment? Because we're in a transition phase. How do you stay ahead of the curve? How do you stay valuable when the skills that were making you marketable are not marketable anymore? Like, any thoughts here from people?
Well, the different skills are marketable, I
Yeah.
would say. I wouldn't say like this is not. Let's not. I don't want to take it a sort of a dark view here, right? Because I guess it's this profession with any profession. What is this? Is a transformation where the job will change, right? The role will change. So what is important to me, like in a candidate interviewing, for example, framing. Framing means how would you even tackle this, right? If I have an ambiguous problem, how would you even approach it with what tools, what methodology, which experimental methodology would you apply? Maybe something that is not a black and white answer, it's not about knowledge of knowing exactly how that particular machine learning algorithm works or another. How do you compose the knowledge you have? So you still need the knowledge about how data science and modeling works, but how do you frame and how do you apply to this domain? So it's like it's going to be a transformation. We don't know exactly how it's going to look like, the role of the data scientists in 2 years from now, but it's about transformation. I like to hear others' perspective.
I'd love to hear others too. Like, what are your thoughts, guys? How do you stay valuable?
I go ahead. I completely agree with the concept of framing, because I think the capability to ask the right question is gonna make things completely different. And the ability to framing is actually based on your background and the kind of like the skill, the knowledge you learn from the college. So for example, like like right now, most of the large language model is more trained for general purpose. They may know some knowledge in some specific domain, but they're not expert in that part. So what I have experienced is that we have worked with a lot of customer from a specific domain, and they want to utilize the agent, the Gen AI, to solve their problems. And in order to build a successful solution for this customer, you need to ask the right questions that can tackle the customer's concern. And those type of questions will require a lot of domain knowledge. So, for example, if you have a biomedical background, and I think it's going to be an advantage in the future with the help of AI, because you know what type of the right question you can ask to move to the next step, and then the AI is just going to be your assistant to help you find the right tool and to make things happen. So for example, like if you want to do some research and you know which database or article base has a publication you need, or which computational tools or programming package has a function to help you accelerate your research, and then you can utilize AI's like coding capability. For example, it can like build an app or write a script for you to automatically solve your problem instead of you spending like a weeks to write the code by yourself. So I think that's something that are really valuable. But most important is like you have to ask the right question, and then you can collaborate with AI. So that's why I'm thinking like even in some degree AI is kind of like like replacing some skills, but it's still not gonna completely like replace like human labels, like especially different people, their different background has their own advantage. And also more importantly, it's more like a personal experience. I also use like, for example, vibe coding to do probably 70% of my work. But I do not just you know, ask AI to write the code for me. My strategy is more like I use it to learn together. So for example, if I need to write something, write a script using some techniques that I never used before, I'm probably going to ask AI to do it to get started. But once it create a script, I'm going to ask some follow-up question to help me understand it. And at that time, if I have enough like foundation knowledge about this specific part, then I have the ability to distinguish whether the code that AI write is correct or not. And with that, I can continue learning from it, and I can make the right decision on, whether I should trust its solution or not. So that's going to help me avoid a lot of problems that people usually encounter in the web codings. So so even right now, like the AI can do a lot of things, but I think that means that we should um, completely trust it, and we should for example, if you are pursuing your career in some specific domain, um, uh, and you want to, maybe switch to like AI field, I would say that's probably not a very good idea because it's actually going to be an advantage in the future.
I love what you just said, and I really want to reemphasize this here for the students in the room. You essentially said that you use AI assistants not just as a drop-in replacement, but as a helper that you learn from, that you are essentially going to pay careful attention to what it does so that you can learn from it. And I think it's a great attitude. There are studies that show that people who just use AI assistants blindly tend to lose their critical thinking over time, while the people who do exactly what you do are going to turbocharge themselves. And so maybe that's a message we can carry here to our students, which is make use of coding assistants, but don't follow them blindly. Make sure you learn from whatever they're producing so that you can grow as well along that along your usage. Anyone wants to to chime in on the topic a little bit?
I will chime in. Sorry, how's it going?
Cash. It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
Cash, go ahead. Yeah, that's fine.
No, I'm just gonna. I agree that for Touch and Danielle, but I'm going to pursue this from the opposite perspective of, I think something that's very relevant for everyone here, which is how do you get a job, right? And it's an extremely tough hiring environment right now. Like I get inbounds from clients saying I've applied to over 300 roles and gotten ghosted from all of them. And everyone's using AI, right? The AI is writing your resume, but then the employers are using AI to filter and then like rank people, right? But like nobody's getting hired. I think the Atlantic wrote an article about that. The only thing I wanted to offer there was like, yeah, everything everyone said here is true. I think those are necessary skills to show that you know what you're doing once you get the interview, right? Once you're actually talking to Danielle, once you're actually talking to Hao Chen. But to get to that point, like you need your human network. Like I tell people, I'm telling my circle this, and I tell every single one of my clients this every day. Getting a referral or getting someone in your network to kind of advocate for you increases your shots at getting an interview by 60%. AI can't replace that.
I'm glad you're surfacing this. I'm glad you're bringing us on the topic of, like this is all in well once you have a job, but how do you get the job? So thank you for bringing us there. And we actually have a workshop on networking. It's the very first workshop of the year because we think it's the most important one, the referral, as you mentioned. Yeah, I can believe it's true that in this AI world that human connection is going to become even more important as ever before. Any other thoughts on the topic of looking for employment in this AI era?
Maybe I can add it, like for sure, you'll be looking for people who are trying to sort of play with this and engage with this new tooling, right? So it's like to what extent this is so knowing how to trying having some experience of using Gen AI tools in data science is something that you probably people want to see on the resumes today. See having and basically having that practical experience with it. So I think that's pretty important more than the more traditional, not more, but as much as the more traditional data science education and experience and project. Right? So showing that people are progressive in exploring what Gen AI can how they can utilize Gen AI and in a data science function.
I think I agree with everyone. So I think as Cash mentioned, network is clearly the number one right now. Certainly networks gets you into the door, but you still need substance, right? So in CVS, when I interview someone, I care about few things. One, can you explain your thinking clearly? Two, have you done real work, not just courses? Three is about, do you understand the business context? So if someone comes through referral but cannot answer these, it really does not help. So my advice is more like you build real projects. You should be able to talk about them deeply and share your work and stay connected with people. Don't just apply online and hope for that. So reach out, ask for feedback, stay visible.
And actually, on that one, Krishna, you brought up something really important. The person who's doing the referral, that doesn't come for free. Because if I refer someone to Krishna and they can't perform on the interview, that's going to impact me the next time around.
I agree.
And given what Clementine was saying, with these referrals and human connections being that much more valuable, like it's true. Like, I mean, you do have to prove, like, I get tons of people, coming into me every day because I have a large network here in quant finance in New York City. But I don't know who these people are. So if they can't convince me, I'm not going to go to bat for them and waste some of my social capital by referring them to a hiring manager. So that's a good point.
Thank you all for chiming in on this topic. Do we have any other question any question in the room? Very, very shy students today. Guys, I cannot emphasize enough how extraordinary of an opportunity it is to get access to our panelists today. These are busy professionals that people would love to talk to. If you have a question, now is your chance. Don't be shy. No
Wait,
judge.
I have
It's
an
a
idea. I have an idea.
judgment-free zone.
If you ask a question, it's a form of
Yeah,
networking, which might increase your chances of getting a job.
that's
Just,
right, guys.
just throwing
If
it
you
out
ask
there.
a
Just
question, it's
throwing it.
networking. Thank you, Cash. I'm gonna have Cash lead this panel.
I have a quick question. I was talking to somebody recently. It was kind of like a coffee chat, and they had given me the advice to like try to stand out from other applicants, and they gave me the advice to like build side projects. Do you guys have any advice on? Because she wasn't very specific, or she didn't mention any subjects that would be interesting to for her to see if she were to hire somebody. So do you guys have any advice as to if you were to see somebody coming in with a side project, what would be interesting or like impactful for the student to have, especially if they don't have a lot of, let's say, internship experience that is related to tech?
Great question. What can be an impactful side project? Anyone in the room? Cash.
I'll go on this one. And I think this is where coaching and mentoring are actually really important, and it's becoming a little more popular. Like you can and should reach out to people who are experts in their domain offering these services. Like people come to me all the time about projects in quant finance, but because I have the experience, like 10 years experience in quant finance, I can give them a very specific project, which, if you didn't have that, people look at that and be like, oh, that's not really institutional grade. We can't do anything with that professionally. But if you go to someone who actually has the experience, one of my friends is at Microsoft, or now he's at Apple. He does the exact same thing. He can tell you something about how they're trying to automate their model validation, and like then that really a core component of the machine learning pipeline they're trying to use agentic AI. I have nothing to do with that. I don't even know what he's doing within Apple, but he can take that expertise and guide those projects depending on your interests. That'd be my answer to that.
Um, I do look at resumes, and my personal take on the topic, which is just mine, is that I'm excited to see any project. Because it's not just about the skill set, but for me, it shows to me that the person, he is driven, curious, excited about exploring ideas. And so for me, any project that displays some sort of uh, well, I would have said a coding project, someone building an app. Also, these days it's less and less, relevant, the coding part. But for me, any side project is interesting because it tells me more about who you are rather than about what you do and your skill set. But I like seeing that sort of drive from someone, essentially. But that just me. Maybe other panelists here have things they are looking for more specifically, but
Yeah.
from my perspective, an entry level person, any project is a good project.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, but I also be a little cautious. I generally do not pick any toy project as such. You cannot just say Titanic data set. It's all becomes old actually. So try to pick something like you're trying to solve a real problem. And then second, try to show your thinking as well. Like, why did you choose this problem? So try to explain like what assumptions did you make? What went wrong? Why this modeling technique versus other? The third thing is like show end to end, not just accuracy improvement. So I think if you make these three things connected, then I think you will certainly distinguish it from everyone else.
Those are great tips. Thanks for adding on.
I want to give an example. So this may not apply to your interest, but I think could be a good inspiration. So I had a friend who is a really big fan of like short videos, like TikTok videos, and what he does is so he saw there's a type of opportunity where like people who watch a like an hour-long movie and they convert them to a short videos and post them on TikTok, and then I got a lot of views. And once Gen AI has become popular, and he think he could utilize that, the Gen AI to help them do those things For example, use GenAI to analyzing the frame, convert the transcript, and convert them to some short video script, and create some automated pipeline to combine them together. And he actually built up this app. So it's not actual app like deploying in the cloud. It's more like an open source project where he just built it for fun. And actually, this project gave him like a job offer in a very large tech companies. So I think this is could be a good example. Like he starting this project not for like a like specific job. It's more for his personal interest. But eventually, it's end up like giving him a very good offer. So if you have any like personal interest in some specific domain and you think you can utilize the current techniques to do something, I would say feel free to do that because it's definitely going to give you more motivation than just picking up something that you do not have passion with. And maybe you did a very good job, and this could be a very like valuable experience on your resume.
Great advice. Find a project you're passionate about.
I think Hoshian hit the nail correctly. I think pick one real project and do it well. It really beats 10 random projects for sure. So, so build something you actually use, and that always shows for sure.
I think we have a question in the room. You
Oh,
wanted to ask your question?
I don't. Go ahead.
I think there's someone that has their hand raised, Ranfi. I don't see their name though. I just see a picture.
Uh, I may call it wrong. Just forgive me. Niha, is that your name?
Hey,
Yeah.
Ryan. Yes, Nihalia. So my question was more on networking because I kind of understand that that's the initial step for the interview, at least for the first round. And so how is it that you break the ice for networking and have been trying reaching out on LinkedIn to people, like texting, and also reaching out to BU alums in different organizations. So how do you go over that process? Any tips on, how to successfully network with people online and in a space where there's shortage of time for people to even speak to you and go on a call? How do you strategize the conversation next and eventually get a referral in the organization?
I'll answer this one because I get this one a lot. So first of all, you just broke the ice. Congratulations, because you asked a
Mhm.
question. So well done. But second, LinkedIn's trickier. Look, I mean, people love talking about what they do. But the tricky part is you can't ask for anything, right? So if you contact someone and you're like, hey, I'd like to learn more about what you do, can I buy you a coffee sometime? That'll like most of the time that'll work, right? I mean, if they see that you're connected in some way, like you're a friend of a friend or something like this, right? Or like, you're part of BU, I'm at BU. Mostly some people connect me and I'm more than happy to grab coffee for them. The referral part is tricky. Because like no one likes to, like, hey, you bought me a coffee, now you're asking me for something. That part's kind of tricky, right? But I would say, and I think it's what kind of everyone was saying on this, is that if in that conversation they realize your value and they see it, like what you're actually doing, and they're like, and it's obviously like choose your targets very carefully, right? Like if you're into reinforcement learning in, like AI, then you should be networking with people, who are experts in that, or you want to learn more about that, right? So just by virtue of that, if you show your strengths, they'll be like, oh, actually, we're doing something like that. Maybe dot 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 dot. So part of it is kind of like filtering, like targeting very specifically the people who you're interested, like who are doing what you're interested in. But again, don't come on too strong. Like just it's more informative. You want to learn, and by virtue of the interaction, hopefully then a referral will come up, but don't expect it. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Thanks.
Great advice.
I'll
I
add to it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll add to it. So generally, right, when you reached out on LinkedIn or email, do not write, hey, can you refer me? So start simple and genuine. So maybe you can say like, hey, I'm from Boston University, so and so. I saw your profile and you work at CVS. I would like to learn more about you. Can we connect for 15 minutes chat? So that works much better. So That's the first thing. Second, be specific. I think as Cash mentioned, do not send generic messages to 50 different people. Try to find 5 to 10 people that you actually admire actually. So read their profile, mention one real thing. It really shows effort actually. And third, respect their time. So ask for 15 minutes, not for 1 hour or so. And after the call, send a thank you message. So all these things matters. And again, finally, do not disappear. Something like every few months, send a short update, something like, hey, I got an internship. I finished this project. Or thanks again for your advice. So I think that builds long-term connections for sure.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks.
gonna selfishly plug in here advertisement, which is that a great way to network is to volunteer for professional organizations. Volunteering for the mentoring program is a way to build your network, guys. Ranfe is always looking for volunteers. Ranfe is leading this program and she is constantly talking with mentors from a variety of companies, and that's a way to build a network. So if you guys are not comfortable reaching out of the blue, I want to say that volunteering for professional organization is a great way to build your network in an organic way. And people are really excited to respond to, those mentorship opportunities. So plugging in an advertisement for the mentoring program to be a volunteer. We have a question. Someone has their hand raised for a while, but I cannot see the name. There's a picture.
Um, Tariq,
Yeah.
apologize if I call you wrong.
Tariq, do you want to tell us your question?
Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you. So I just have a question, like, based on your experiences, and this may have to do more with my interest, just AI solutions and, the current trends of whatnot. So based on your experiences, maybe with clients or maybe at the company that you guys are at, what are they kind of asking for in terms of maybe AI solutions or maybe even products to be developed, basically?
What are the AI solutions that are asked to be developed today? Anyone has?
Well, maybe maybe I answer will be a little broad, but I want to take the opportunity about saying something about the current climate and how do you get, and I'll get direct to your question is like, well, first of all, as it was said, like this is not not the greatest moment for entering a job market. This is not the first time, as I've been, there have been ups and downs all the time. So it doesn't mean that this is forever, but it's not a great moment. So one thing I'd say is, don't be shy about trying to make your own future. Don't depend necessarily of the fact that a large corporation may notice your resume or not, especially when in a moment where there's tens of thousands of people doing the same thing. Be a little adventurous. And one thing I say, like, what do you notice about candidates? Well, the other day I had it to come across and have a conversation with a young German student in CS. He's only 20 years old, and one thing I noticed, like he had his own consulting business. I'm like, well, how do you have your own consulting business? You're 20, and and he had a few small clients, and he was specializing in application of Gen AI, and it actually turns out that how do you get your leads? Well, he leveraged some AI platforms that crafts custom introduction emails, and through that, able to get to talk to some people and find some clients without having little experience to speak for. But the fact is that with Gen AI, I mean, one of the beauties of it is like its general applicability, right? There's so many processes that can be automated in any organization. Simple, more complex, right? Automation, smart automation in organization. So I think it's such a flexible tech, a lot more than what ML would be or data science itself, right? where leveraging your combination of knowledge of analytics and leveraging these Gen AI platforms, vibe coding and all of that, can allow people to rapidly build prototype things and solutions, right? And so for whatever a business may need, maybe a simple automation that can be introduced, a solution with AI, and then kind of start building your resume, building real world applications that you work on.
Make your own luck is what I'm hearing.
And also I have if I may a minute of making your own luck. I remember, because you said several years. I worked several decades, including the year around 2000, the dot bomb, right, where things went from like flying to crashing, right, and burning, right, the whole dot-com crash. And I was in a startup, and from one day to the next, like half of the staff was gone, and then we were in furlough, which means like you work 4 days a week and one day you're not paid. And then from that moment, I had this extra day, and somebody, I ran into an opportunity to do a little bit of on my own consulting as a data scientist, and that one day a week little gig turned into my 13 years long business, which was still the longest engagement I had in my own career. Just in a moment of, things don't look good, right? But you take the opportunities, you be a little bit of ventures, and you can do it on your own. You don't have to depend on the big corporation offering you a cushy job.
I love this. Let's end our panel on this note. Make your own luck. I think it's a great way to wrap this. Thank you guys and ladies for joining us today for this panel. I hope you had as much fun as I did. I think the main takeaways are network, network, network. Use AI assistant to explore new venues, make your own luck. And regardless, it was such a treat to talk with y'all and hear about your jobs, and stay in touch and stay warm too. It's really cold. But we'll call it a wrap. Bye, guys.
Thank you
Everyone.
so
I think I
much.
stayed Clementine. Ciao.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.